Good evening, welcome to the Limerick Board of Selectmen's meeting for June 30th. I will first start out before we go into our regular scheduled meeting with a public hearing with the CDC. Who's the representatives?
That'd actually be the Maine DEP. CDC is being represented here today by two members.
Okay.
Simone,
So who, Stan, who set this up?
You have the Department of DEP, the remediation people are here to discuss the contamination and the results and hopefully answer some questions.
Okay, who's representing DEP?
Aaron?
Diane,
What?
Aaron Dumont,
This is Brandon Off
and John White.
and John White. These are the DEP people.
Okay, so who's going to speak for them?
Brandon,
All three of us will be speaking.
who's going to go first?
I'll be going first.
You got one.
All right. Hi. How's everyone doing tonight? Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. I see some familiar faces. Hopefully I'm talking in the mic close enough here. So I've worked with some of you. I've had the pleasure of that. Thank you. For those who don't know me, my name's Aaron Dumont. I work for the Maine DEP in the department, in the Bureau of Remediation in the Uncontrolled Sites Unit. And today we're just going to basically present our findings from some of the work we've been doing over the past year or so in the town of Limerick. Actually, we've been working longer in Limerick, but one site of particular interest, which I'm sure you all have talked about in previous meetings, is the former Central Ave landfill, which may be more locally known as the landfill off of Pleasant Ave. So, now, as you probably heard, my name's Aaron Dumont. With me is Brendan Oth, project geologist, Don White, who is the project engineer, Brianna Bennett's out back, and Tom Simones. Those are our partners in CDC. We have been working in concert with them as we learn more about this and as we've encountered people who are impacted by this. So a little frame it up here, because there are some other issues in Limerick that are kind of outside of the purview of our program. I work in uncontrolled sites and the landfill closure unit, so this is kind of fitting that we're working on an old closed landfill. So basically an uncontrolled site is a site that's just been essentially more or less abandoned. It may have a property owner, may not. A perfect case in point is the Central Avenue landfill. It was used municipally at one point in time, and then as time marched on, it was sold off, and certain people acquired different chunks. And we do a lot of work with sites like that in my program. So what we try to do is find out what's going on with them, and if we can help it, clean it up. If not, mitigate some of the issues that come with that. So my program is just one of several in the Remediation Bureau that kind of deals with sites that have been left dirty and abandoned, if you will. We follow a very similar approach. We use a tool called the conceptual site model at many of these sites, almost at all of these. So there'll be a little bit of jargon here. You'll hear me talk about CSM. You'll hear me talk about something called contaminants of concerns, which are COCs. But basically, this is kind of like outlining the steps that we take when we encounter a site like we have up on Central Avenue. Basically, we want to identify the contaminants of concern, figure out exactly what there is that could be impacting people, identify the source areas, which is what we spent a lot of time doing this winter. Potential receptors factors into that too, so that could be people who would be impacted by the discharge or vapors or what have you coming off of this, depending on the pollutant. And then identify potential pathways, because one pollutant can have several different pathways in which they get into someone's home and impact them. So to do all this kind of takes a multifaceted approach. I would like to say that it's not always a clean process, and it's a dynamic process, and what we try to do is take it incrementally and follow the data. A lot of times we're kind of the unit of last resort. We get a lot of sites that, well, other units don't really know what to do with. So often the problems are complex. There's many different layers, and there's many inputs, especially when you're dealing sites of an industrial nature. So in order to figure all that out, we do something called targeted sampling. We try to define the impacted areas, and then we take our results and compare them against something called the RAGs. You'll hear us talk about the RAGs. That's not dirty cloths or dishcloths or anything. That's remedial action guidelines. So, and Brendan Oth, the project geologist, will come up here and explain this visual representation of a conceptual site model that we use to help us kind of keep track of things as we work through a site and learn more information. Thank you.
Oh, hi. I'm Brendan Oth. I'm the project geologist for this. And here we kind of a basic diagram of a conceptual site model. It's a little busy, but the main thing I want you to take away from it is that really we have a source, the path that source travels through the environment, and ultimately the receptors that are impacted by that source. Here in this scenario, it's really chlorinated solvents that were deposited most likely in the landfill mid-20th century, and then the free product, how it passes through the soil and groundwater. The thing to know about chlorinated solvents is that they're dense, they're going to sink. So you have kind of this dissolved plume moving through the groundwater, but also product and more dissolved solvents getting into the fractured rock, where they'll follow these fractures and become harder to find and impact different wells. And ultimately you end up with exposure either via vapors into people's homes or through drinking water. Direct exposure is possible, but in this scenario, not really, unless people go and dig things up, which hopefully no one is doing. Yeah, move on. And again, the contaminants concerned here are chlorinated solvents, PCE and TCE, which were detected in the residential wells. PC is tetrachloroethylene. It's also called PERC. Let's see. Pretty common. They're both related, non-flammable, colorless, denser than water, so they sink, and very volatile. They were commonly used industrial purposes and dry cleaners, starting kind of like very early 40s, heavily used like 50s through 70s, and kind of taper off over time as people found kind of different chemicals to use for those purposes. They're regulated by the federal government, and they're highly mobile in the environment. And you can see in the environment, they're structurally very similar. PCE breaks down into TCE when you remove that chlorine atom and replace it with a hydrogen. There are further degradation products, but mostly what we're seeing around the old landfill is just PCE and TCE. Yeah. And here we just have a site location map to orient everyone. We've also included 4 other sites that we've worked on in the past. As you can see, the former Central Ave landfills up in the corner there by Pleasant Hill Road, northeast of the Carroll Materials operation. We have the closed Limerick Municipal Landfill, the MDOT salt shed at 286 Burnham Road, and then the old Limerick Mill up in the corner there. And we've overlaid an aquifer map from the Maine Geological Survey. And kind of what I really want you to take away from this is that if you're driving in Central Ave and coming in down towards the pit area and then up towards the Limerick Mill, you're in a valley. The bottom of that valley is pretty much all sand and gravel. Anything that's spilled kind of in this area or discharged into the environment is most likely just going to flow towards Lake Arrowhead in that general like north-south direction, which is really what we see the impacts from Central Ave and at other sites in the area. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Aaron.
Yeah, so like I said, we move this around here. Oftentimes, we don't know everything going into a site. We know we may do some sampling. We may uncover something that was buried. We may come up with, a well that's contaminated. We like to go through and dig through the records and help basically fill in those data gaps to figure out what was going on. So what we found here, this was contributed by a resident, which appears to be an old timber harvest map. And it really helped us kind of clue in our target area. We knew there was a landfill essentially under the road a little bit, but the rumors and the information we were getting was kind of sorted. And so this helped basically refine the search area and narrow it down quite a bit. Prior to us doing sampling, we had walked an area and we didn't quite really know the extent. So this is just how historical records come into play and can help make our life easier and cut down on a lot of legwork for us. So as you can see, it was deeded back to the town of Limerick in '51 to be used as a dumping ground. Basically abandoned or discontinued in the '60s. And all of that, one should keep in mind, that activity happened prior to the formation of the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. So really it's kind of local control going on out here. So just to kind of give a timeline as to when the DEP was established and landfill oversight started taking place. And really oversight in landfills in the early days wasn't very advanced. It was more, you would have more inspections from, I believe it's something called the health office, or you'd have forestry going out just to make sure that there were adequate fire breaks. So, and then finally it was sold off and subdivided in the '70s. So, and as you can see, what we did was take that historical map and overlay it on a present day aerial photograph just to give some context. Another line of evidence or data, if you will, that we found was when Maine DOT did a flight path over Route 11 in Limerick. So we actually were able to find this photo online. Brendan stumbled upon it, which was great. So that kind of gives us, this is from 1962, a view of well, it's a banana-shaped gravel pit, basically. So it was like a bank-filled dump, basically. But, it's another piece of information that comes in useful when we're trying to figure out basically what's coming out of this thing, how it may have been filled up, how it was managed back in the day. Just, it seems like trivial stuff, but it can come in useful. With that, I'll turn this back over to Brendan Oth to discuss some groundwater results. And I should say that we don't actually have any hard numbers in this presentation, just so we protect the people's personal information, because those results are their own information. So we didn't want to broadcast that in a public forum, so it will be staged in either above the rags or below the rags.
Right. So the department collected a total of 10 groundwater samples from residential wells around the former Central Ave landfill. The two down in the corner, Carroll BR and Carroll OB, were collected in 2022 as part of our investigation to 286 Burnham Road. And out of the 10 samples, 7 were collected from dug wells. You can see those as the circles on the map. And 3 were collected from drilled bedrock wells. Out of those 7 samples, 3 had concentrations for PCE and TCE above their remedial action guidelines. And we kind of work started in November at 236 Central Ave. This location was chosen just because it was the closest to the landfill. That was sampled, and then once we got those results back, we worked our way out kind of concentrically and then worked our way towards Lucier Lane and 216 Central Ave. And then following sampling, whole house filter systems were installed at 225, 235, and 236 Central Ave. These consist of 2 carbon units, and we have 3 sampling points for each, one before, one between, and one after. And really how they work is that the first carbon unit, the water's filtered through it. That between sample should be clean or non-detect below our rags. And then the second unit after that is just protective. And we've had 2 rounds of sampling so far that have confirmed that the systems are working in PCE and TCE are non-detect in the between and after samples. In addition to groundwater, we did soil sampling in the gardens and yards of residents around the landfill. We initially started by targeting garden soils, and these are visible in SS1 through SS8. As you can see, SS7 and 8 both had detections. These were just above our laboratory reporting limits and approximately an order of magnitude below the residential rags for PCE in soil. And after this round, we conducted another round of just the residential yard areas, SS9 through SS15. And you see there's a similar pattern there. As you get closer to the former landfill, you start to get more detections of PCE. But again, these are just detections. They're well below a regulated limit for residential soil. And yeah, that's our soil sampling for now. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Don White to talk about soil gas and indoor air.
Hello, I'm Don White. I'm environmental engineer with the DEP. Continuing with the conceptual site model, this figure shows how a contaminated groundwater with PCE and TCE can present an inhalation risk to the residents. The groundwater plume emits PCE and TCE into the vadose zone, which is the unsaturated soil above the groundwater table. From there, it gets sucked into the house because of the stack effect. The stack effect is caused because of the air in the house when it leaves through the attic and the windows and the doors. It requires makeup air, and a lot of the makeup air comes from the basement through the cracks in the floor and the floor wall seam. The basement floor is always poured separate from the foundation, and concrete shrinks. That creates a pretty big gap. Even if you can't see it, it's still big enough for vapors to get through. So we basically have to control that negative pressure, the negative draw from the stack effect to be able to prevent an inhalation risk. In order to do that, we install sub-slab depressurization systems. In the SSDSs create a stronger suction than the stack effect, and we basically drill a 4-inch hole through the concrete slab in the bottom left of this picture, and then we suck out with a shop vac about 5 gallons of soil to create a cavity so that we can suck the vapors from. And from there, we connect piping to go up through the rim joists and along the side of the building and up above the roof. And that basically overpowers the stack effect and creates a preferential pathway for the soil gas to not come into the house and go be emitted outside. Then we install a manometer on the stack. So right there. It's basically a U-tube with colored liquid in it, and it gives you a visual inspection of whether or not the system's working. And after we installed these, we followed up with indoor air testing, and all 3 houses were below our remedial action guidelines. So this is a map of the 5 houses that we started off with soil gas samples. We drilled a 1/2-inch hole through the concrete slab and connected tubing to a suma canister. Took a 15-minute sample, sent that off to the lab. The lab analyzed for PCE and TCE. 2 of the houses were below our remedial action guidelines, and 3 of the houses were above. One was, they were above by 65 times higher, 6 times higher, and 4 times higher than our action guidelines. So because of that, we decided to sample the indoor air for those 3 houses. And you can see, so that's the triangle on the top is the soil gas. 2 of them are green and 3 of them are red. The 3 red ones were above our remedial action guidelines. Then we did just indoor air sampling of the first floor and the basement. 2 of them did not pass the remedial action guidelines, and 1 of them was directly at the remedial action guidelines, and that's green. Because if it's at, it passes. It has to be above. But it was so close that we decided to still install an SSDS system in that house as well. So we installed 3 SSDS systems, which an SSDS system is also the same thing as a radon system. Basically, about 33% of the houses in Maine should have a radon system installed because they would not pass the EPA recommended guideline. The same system is used for soil gas, for fuel oil, and for PCE and TCE chlorinated solvents. And we install the system to radon standards. So after we installed the systems, we took new samples, and all 3 this time passed with a reduction of 97% of the contaminants, 88% reduction, and 92% reduction in the contaminants. But one of them was still just barely below the rags. So in that house, we're still continuing to optimize the SSDS system by sealing the floor wall seams and sealing the cracks in the floor. And after the sealing's done, we'll retest to make sure that the indoor air there is safe. As well as we'll retest all of these in the winter because the stack effect is worse in the winter. When you heat your house and all the heat leaves, you create a bigger negative draw in your basement. So we got to make sure that these systems work in the winter as well. So we'll go back to these houses then. And I think that covers it. Aaron?
Yeah. So this is just basically where our next steps are going. We're actually working on our next steps now. We're doing quarterly water sampling of the filtration systems through 2026 to evaluate their effectiveness. At the end of 2026, we'll look at the data and see, can we step it back a little bit? Do we need to continue that same level of monitoring? But these systems are pretty robust and they work well, should last a while. We're going to continue to work on indoor air just to make sure that the SSDS systems are adequate, especially during the heating season. And what we really want to continue doing is source zone delineation on the old landfill. We've got it boxed in. We pretty much know where the plume is at this point in time based upon our old sampling. We'd like to kind of get more resolution on that. Some of the ways that we can do that are through soil borings, monitoring wells, employing a firm that does geophysics where they can do some resistivity readings on the dump to figure out extent. They can come in with a better GPR unit than what we have and tell us more about really the stratigraphy and what's going on underneath the soil without doing anything that is super invasive. So hopefully once we do that, we'll learn a little bit more and we can formulate an approach. We're kind of still going short term at this point in time until we learn more about this. Every time we go out there, we learn a little bit more and feel a little bit more confident about it. So that said, that ends our presentation. So probably any questions you may have or... yes, the CDC was introduced, yeah. If there are any health-related questions, we do have CDC here too to answer those as well. So.
Anyone have any questions?
I do. Wait a second. So as far as the testing, you did test the soil. But,
correct.
And then what was the depth that you tested it at?
We only go down about 4 to 6 inches. That's all we really need to do.
Okay.
Yep.
So as far as like my parents were told that it was okay for them to have a garden.
Yep.
Should the vegetables be tested that they're bringing back? Is there a way to do that to guarantee that what they're eating is not poisoning them?
I would like to open that up to members of CDC.
Okay. Okay.
This is Tom Simone's.
Evening, everyone. I'm Tom Simmons, Assistant State Toxicologist at Maine CDC. I think I've talked to some of you in the community here, but to answer your question directly, we've actually looked into that a bit more for the garden pathway, because we know that's a concern that's been brought up, and some questions around, can I raise a vegetable garden and safely eat those? We have looked, there are actually a few studies that do look at TCE, PCE in ground soil, as well as watering with that. And what those studies have shown is there's not much for actual uptake that stays in the plant. So these chemicals are very volatile, as DEP mentioned. I mean, they evaporate quickly into the atmosphere. So both of those studies, one in Utah around a contaminated military base that had a fairly contaminated plume of TCE, PCE. They were using it to water their gardens and the homes around it. They were unable to find detectable levels of TCE and PCE in these gardens. Another study in Wisconsin had actual soil contamination there, and they were measuring PCE in that soil, but they couldn't find any in the plants. Mostly this was leafy vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, asparagus, but they didn't find anything in the plant. And that was with detections in the soil. From all of the work DEP's done here of testing soil, most of the soil's been tested at non-detect levels, meaning the lab just can't measure it. So I wouldn't expect there to be any measurable TCE or PCE in any of these gardens grown on that. Even if there were some, I would still expect, based on the studies, that there shouldn't be any in the actual edible portions of the plants. So it should be safe to consume vegetables in this case here.
What about root vegetables like carrots or potatoes or things like that?
Yeah, there was the Utah study did look at root vegetables, specifically carrots, and couldn't find anything. It's always good practice to make sure you're rinsing your vegetables. And so if you have any soil stuck to the exterior portion of the carrot or other root vegetables, potatoes, just in general, once you wipe that off, there should be, and again, no detections for most of these soils, so I wouldn't expect that would be a route either. Mm-hmm.
Speak right into the microphone. Hello, everyone. Just for point of clarity, I am an environmental consultant that lives in Lake Arrowhead, so I am going to ask a couple of questions that some of the folks may not be, ready to ask, but I'm going to fire away as a resident. When you did the indoor air testing, you specifically said you targeted TCE and PCE. Did you run a full TO15 for other compounds, or just those two compounds?
We did for soil gas. The only ones that were above the rags were TCE, PCE.
Okay,
But we didn't do that for indoor air.
okay.
For indoor air, we just targeted chlorinated. Once they hit the breakdown products, it's mostly chloride.
Okay.
For indoor air, yeah.
Okay. Have you had any detections of vinyl chloride, one of the daughter breakdown compounds?
No, not close to one.
Okay. And in your remediation plan for the future, or your assessment plan for your conceptual site model, as you mentioned earlier, the flow of the aquifers towards Lake Arrowhead, and I'm also on the board of LAC, and we have our own private water supply system that we supply our homes. And so a lot of our residents don't have private wells that you could pinpoint. So I'm curious if you're going to do any borings heading towards Lake Arrowhead so you can assess the aquifer as it approaches that water body.
Probably not at this time.
Okay.
That's fairly cost prohibitive for us.
Okay. And that leads to another question. To fulfill a conceptual site model, as we all know, you're typically not just focusing on the source area, you're looking at the plume as it travels through the aquifer and through the bedrock fractures. Are we doing bedrock monitoring wells in the future heading towards Lake Arrowhead? Because our wells are deep, our 3 supply wells.
At this time, it's all funding.
Okay.
We've been usually targeting residential bedrock wells in the area to try to get a grasp of what's going on with bedrock. But the well at 225 is
Mhm.
actually the chemistry is a bit different between the over and bedrock wells.
Yeah.
So yeah, just because I'm assuming, as you know, a full bedrock drilling program's not an inexpensive ordeal
I
for us to
believe
go
me,
through.
I understand that, but, you know, this room right here, you know, I'm representing Lake Arrowhead, and as a resident with my fellow residents here, you know, we're looking for the assessment and potential remediation program to eliminate or severely control what impacts are happening now.
Yeah, but as
So
far
you-
as your public water supply, it's been tested for, they've actually gotten, as far as I know, have a variance for testing for VOCs for quite a while now,
Right.
because they were non-detect.
And, you know, I will report that our wells are 0 for VOCs in Lake Arrowhead. We've done our own testing. And just taking another step, when you're doing your indoor air sampling for the residents that you have the systems running, are you turning the systems off when you're collecting your indoor air to see if there's still infiltration from vapor intrusion?
Yeah, you can answer that.
So we had fresh air ventilation systems running
Mm-hmm.
between when we found out that the soil gas in the indoor air was too high versus when we put the SSDS systems in.
Mhm.
But once we put the SSDS system in, we wanted to know how effective they were. So we left them running, but we turned the fresh air ventilation systems off. And we had also indoor air filters of recirculating the air. So all those systems, except for the SSDS, get turned off. The SSDS is needed. It won't pass without it
Right.
for 2 of the houses. So they get left on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got one more, two more actually, questions, which I don't think you can answer these, but I'm going to ask them anyways because your legal department may want to look into it. Has anybody investigated who the potential PRPs are, potentially responsible parties, of the contamination that I'm assuming was dumped in these areas? And also, under the RCRA regulations, even though they were promulgated in '76, not back when this occurred, the generator of the waste is responsible cradle to grave, and this sure is a grave. Has anybody looked at who the potential generators were of this material for potential recovery of the monies that the Maine DEP is spending?
So we are still working out potential sources of what's going on in Central Avenue. As far as stuff down in the business park area, we're pretty sure that the source of that was Syro Materials out of Sanford. But again, when you start talking about who's responsible, there's really no way to put a trace on the waste, if you will. So that's when we have to start relying on historical records. And what we were hoping to have done this past winter, and we did not have time to do, was get together with some of the elders in the town and see what they remember and what they had for historical information. Stan has been incredibly helpful, and when he hears something, he conveys it to us.
Sure.
So thank you. That's making our life a lot easier and saving time and money by doing that. But unfortunately, we just got busy trying to deal with contaminated wells, and then after that, it was the vapor intrusion issues. So we wanted, first and foremost was to get people clean drinking water and clean air. So that's all forthcoming. So
Thank you for your response.
you're welcome.
Hi, I have another question.
Yes.
Actually, I have a response to what you said. On the December 30th, 2025 town meeting, Howard, you stated that you had spoken to Alan Chamberlain for several hours or an hour and a half about GE dumping contaminations or burying barrels in that? What did that conversation entail?
Basically, that they were just hauling stuff from the mill, because he worked for the mill during that time, and taking care of the waste, and they were dumping it down, well, back of her place. Okay.
Gilpatrick's at Central Avenue, landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about all. There was all kinds of stuff, I guess. I don't know what they had, if there was chemicals or whatever, but all I can ever remember was him hauling in when the leather board or the shoe company was down there, they had all the waste from where they stamped out the shoes themselves. And, you know, he took down truckload after truckload, not only there, but I think in the one that's capped now also. But as far as chemicals and stuff, and it's kind of spotty right now, age and everything else, what he does remember that.
But he was the foreman for General Electric at the time, correct?
Unless he was a foreman, he worked for him.
Oh, he worked for him, okay. So that might be an avenue you want to pursue.
Thank you.
Also, I have a question about the filtration systems. Those are running 24/7.
Correct.
7 days a week.
Yep.
So what is what's going to be the issue when the power goes out for a week at a time? How is that going to be handled? There's going to be generation.
Water or
Air.
Oh, the air.
Air. I mean, if they're living in a house that they can't breathe the air.
Do they not have a generator?
My father is, no.
Yeah. You want to? Sure. Yeah.
So the SSDS is, even without power, is still a preferential pathway for the soil gas to go. A lot of new construction houses install them and never have to add the fan at all. So whether the fan's working or not, it will still mitigate the house. Maybe not as well, but it will still mitigate the house. And if it's off for 24 hours, then your exposure we're talking years of exposure. So 1 day of exposure wouldn't be at the levels without the system, should still be okay. It's
Power for 3 or 4 days, are they gonna?
but even 3 or 4 days, I mean, still, the system's still going to work. It's just, it'd be a passive system instead of an active system, but it's still going to mitigate most of the vapors. So you're not going you're not going to get to the levels as if you didn't have a system. And for that short amount of time, even if it's 10 days, the increase in the indoor air shouldn't be that much. If you don't have power, most people wouldn't have heat, but depends on the house. Some have wood stoves. But that short amount of impact overall shouldn't increase the risk, because it's still working some, and overall it's a short amount of time.
Thank you.
I apologize if I missed the first 2 minutes. Is this presentation, because from back here, I can't see a lot of the details that you're pointing to. Is this presentation something that's going to be available to the public and that we can access so we can see some of the details on your slides?
I would imagine that would be workable. Sure.
And number 2 is, for a person who had a well that wanted to test for concerns or anxieties that these things could exist for them, what would they test for, and what is the approximate cost of that testing?
I could defer you to Stan. My understanding is that the town has a contract with a lab, Stan. And I can't speak to that lab's cost sheet or what the town has worked out for the expense with that, but Stan should be able to give you cost. As far as if you had anxiety, I mean, in general, if you have a well, it's probably a good measure to sample that well for potability every 3 to 5 years. Given Limerick's sordid history, it's probably good to sample for VOCs as well. So,
Can I ask one follow-up question? Quick question. Based on the area that this entails in the distribution or possible distribution of the plume, is there a chance that this program is bumped up and gets federalized? That's one question. And the second question I would have is based on the fact that we're dealing with a landfill, and in my experiences, landfills receive a lot more contaminants besides just TCE and PCE in their breakdown compounds. Will there be any drilling and testing within the landfill fingerprint to see if there's any other quote-unquote nasties or chemicals of concern that have not been identified that should be identified?
right. Brendan, did you want to talk about previous testing?
Thank you.
So as part of our initial testing, we actually sampled, let me go back. So yeah, groundwater here. Initially, we had sampled 236 and 250 for additional landfill parameters as well. And honestly, the water, if it didn't have, I guess, to be blunt, if it didn't have chlorinated solvents in it, you're in an excellent sand and gravel aquifer.
Right.
There were really no other signs of
Great.
landfill contaminants, yeah.
When was this first reported to the DEP?
We've heard at least this area, landfill in particular, we've heard stories of it being here, being further back towards the, like the mobile home community. We first visited it in fall of 23.
That's the first time that it was reported to the DEP that someone had found these chemicals in a well?
No, that would be in November of 2025. We started sampling this mostly to look into it as a landfill, and then given other history of VOCs in Limerick, I added it to our sampling list because it was kind of a, hey, we should keep an eye out
So
for
the
it.
DEP didn't get any reporting in before 2025 that these were found in a well sample?
Yeah,
Say at
not
the
that
salt
we-
shed, maybe? Earlier than that?
Well, I guess if you're talking, I guess I thought you were talking about this site, but we did sample, like if you want to go back to talking about VOCs in Limerick, VOCs were found in the public supply well behind the Limerick Mill as early as 1978. The town of Limerick kept using that public supply well until the mill burned in 94. And then also have here at the salt storage shed that was purchased to potentially become a brewery. The purchaser owned it, drilled a well, and found VOCs in that well. We did additional testing at the machine shop across the street and the POTW, and some more research around the landfill, and found VOCs in that area. Granted, those are all in bedrock wells where the PC and TC was found in overburden wells over by the Central Ave landfill.
So VOCs are different from the other ones?
Sorry, I'm just using them interchangeably, but VOC,
So they were found earlier?
yes, the same class of chemicals were found in the salt storage shed well.
And when was that?
Approximately 2018? I don't know.
And when did you start investigating it?
We started investigating that area as soon as they were reported to us.
good. Oh,
One more question. Are there other VOCs? I'm just, you're saying that TCE is just one agent that you're particularly talking about using interchangeably, but since there's been other VOC testing that you talked about for the business park, are there other VOCs that have been detected in wells?
So everything we've detected in the area is all basically related to the same class of chemicals. Chlorinated solvents, PC and TCE, they break down with the environment into a series of other chemicals and ultimately vinyl chloride. Basically, if you put these in the environment and let them degrade, they keep lopping off the chlorine atoms, and you just get replacing them with hydrogen, and you get further chemicals. So it is different chemicals, but they're all this one in the same family, I guess, would be a good way to explain it. Yep.
To your question, to that gentleman's question, you're correct in the breakdown, but unfortunately, one of the last breakdown compounds before it is inert is vinyl chloride, which is typically regulated at a much lower level than the TCE and PCE.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned earlier that we haven't seen it.
We've seen it in trace levels in the bedrock wells around the salt shed. Just to be clear with that, J qualified, barely.
And to follow up, that's why I would love to see a lot more bedrock exploration heading towards Lake Arrowhead, because
that is, unfortunately, that's a huge, the plus side, there's a real plus side and downside to the Lake Arrowhead Water District existing, is that everyone down here has a great amount of public water, and they're not impacted by the plume in the bedrock by the business park. The downside is that we don't have any way to really see where that plume is going without, again, an extensive
and hence
bedrock
that's why I
drilling
asked the
program.
question, could this be federalized to give you folks the resources to do what you really think needs to be done to get some bedrock wells in place to see what's heading towards Lake Arrowhead? Because as everybody in this room knows, we have houses upon houses upon houses being built in the LAC community. And granted, they're going to be on the LAC water supply, which is clean. However, vapor intrusion, we'll have no idea because we're not testing private wells on these properties. So people could wind up with vapor intrusion and have no idea or no way to find out if they have it or not.
But really, to speak to that, we've done a series of as part of the phase 2 around the MDOT salt shed, there was a series of overburden wells that we didn't find any chlorinateds in. So as far as I'd gather, that plume is already sunk and is in the bedrock. I don't believe a vapor intrusion is a risk to that.
It's deep.
It's deep. It sinks. It's gone.
I have a question for CDC. What would the long-term effects be of drinking this water that's been contaminated?
Yes, certainly a good question there. So for TCE and PCE, chlorinated solvents, there are two things we look at or can have effects. So there's the non-cancer health effects, and then for both of these chemicals, they are associated with cancer. So we look at both of those. For non-cancer health effects, typically for PCE, we're concerned about if a pregnant individual is at home and drinking the water or has elevated air levels, there's a risk of heart defects as the fetus develops. That happens at very, very high levels in animal studies. At the levels we're talking about in these homes, it's very, very low risk. But because of the severity of that effect, we like to take action right when it's above the RAG, which the town and DEP has done to remediate that, so that risk should be fairly low. There is also immune effects for adults that are exposed long-term to TCE. PCE, the primary health effects there are coming from occupational studies, so mostly dry cleaners that have been using this in unregulated settings, exposed to very, very high levels. They can have some neurological effects, so some changes in color vision, some changes in retention time, cognition, non-standardized tests. And typically that's a shorter term exposure. Again, those are much, much higher levels we see at occupational settings. We wouldn't expect to see those health effects at these lower levels. Again, we set the remedial action guidelines to be conservative. So if you're just above those, we don't expect there to be a health effect. But because there is additional risk, we like to take action when you're above those. For cancer, TCE is associated with kidney cancer. So there's some studies in human populations looking at exposed individuals, typically worker populations, a much higher and increased risk of kidney cancer. For PCE, it's primarily liver cancer that's the largest concern for that. And the RAGs for cancer are set at a 1 in 100,000 cancer risk. So meaning if 100,000 people were exposed to this level, the remedial action guideline, one person could have a cancer associated with that exposure. To put that in a little bit of context, background cancer risk here in Maine is about 1 in 3 people will have a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. So compared to the 1 in 100,000, that's a fairly low risk. And that's by design. So environmental chemical policy is set to make sure that we're not really increasing that background cancer risk when you're exposed to a chemical. But there is a risk associated when you get higher and higher levels. And again, when you're above those RAGs, that's like we'd like to take some action to reduce those levels to fully eliminate that risk.
I have a question as far as, gentlemen there, on the air quality inside these houses. You put, was it you depressurize the system? Or put a negative pressure underneath that slab?
Yep.
Okay, is that property all sealed? Now with some compound around all cracks?
Is what sealed?
Working on it.
The floor, in one of the houses, we're working on sealing all the cracks in the floor wall seam, the gap between the slab and the foundation wall. In 2 of the properties, the indoor air was clean enough that we didn't have to do that extra step. All we did was put in the system. The piping that goes into the 4-inch hole, that is sealed around, so it's it gets good suction there. But that's the only sealing we do, unless we need to improve the system.
My concern there is if you're just using what you said, about a 5-foot square area,
5 gallons.
then you're not really sucking across that foundation any to speak of. If you're putting a negative pressure on that if you don't have like a crushed stone or anything in the basement.
So that's a good question. So after we put the systems in, we did 1/2-inch holes on the opposite side of the basements, and we tested the suction to make sure that we got good suction for the entire basement slab. In one house, we didn't get good suction, so we added a second leg to the system. So basically, there was 2 penetrations going through the slab, and they joined together and then went up through 1 fan. But in the other 2 houses, we didn't need to do that. We tested the suction, and there was good suction throughout the whole footprint of the building.
Okay, another question. With all the houses you've dealt with so far, they've got either a water system problem or an air system, an air problem, or both.
Both, and all 3.
Who bears the cost down the road of these systems you put in?
So for the fans, I believe the DEP bears the cost for the SSDS systems. And for the filtration systems, I believe the town is bearing the cost for that, I think. I'm not really sure, Aaron. You want to cover that?
On that one, but
So that's secondhand. Aaron can answer that part.
Well, I mean, as far as costs for the water filtration systems, you would be looking at sediment filters and then an eventual carbon media change out of at least one of the vessels.
okay, so did I hear that other gentleman say the town was responsible for that, or is the homeowner responsible for it?
Well, that would be,
I didn't install that gun back in 1951, so
Yeah.
that's the town of Limerick's responsibility.
I'm just
yeah.
trying to sort this out.
So, I mean, that would be, I mean, from our viewpoint, when we started going down this path, the town kind of stepped up to be the RP as it was the town's old dumping ground. So as far as incurred cost in the future, any sort of like catastrophic failure, none short of like intentionally letting the house go cold and freeze up, you know, that would be, a catastrophic failure would be covered by the department. We could do reimbursement for that, but, you know, long-term maintenance costs would be on the town.
What is the lifespan of these systems? I'm thinking more of the water system than I am the
Right.
air system.
Well, that's going to be variable depending on the nature of the contaminant and then also the amount of water that is used. You know, case in point, people who are a little bit older and don't have children and aren't doing laundry all the time are going to use significantly less water than, you know. Yeah, we do have flow meters on these systems too. So.
I guess just, that's also partly why we're going to be continuing with sampling them. To
Yeah.
make sure they're still working, and if we see signs of breakthrough, then they'll need to change out.
And how
Right.
many years is this sampling gonna go on?
Uh,
I don't believe you said that before, yeah.
Well, that's something that we don't really know at this point in time. So,
I would hope as long as it needs to.
As long
Yeah.
as, to put it in perspective.
Well,
it's already
yeah.
been almost here for 50 years already, so.
I would presume as long as the house is there, right?
I would hope so.
So what
I hope so.
I do have a quick question too. If more houses pop up on private wells that have findings of TCE, PCE, or other chemicals in the system, is there any, and this might be DEP, CDC, or Stan, I know we've talked about it briefly, but is there any way to extend the public water system to that area and have help with the cost of it? Because that's not a
so
cheap feat, but
no,
it's something that needs
it's not cheap, and the department does not have any money for that. We've been pressed by board members of the Limerick Water District looking for funding. I mean, ultimately, the long-term solution would be to get some water out there. That would eliminate the need for the systems, the water filtration systems in the house. But, you know, that's dependent on the Limerick Water District's capability and funding and what could be secured in the future. So, did I answer that question for you? It was kind of
Yeah,
a
I don't know if
multi-component.
you've worked with any towns that had luck with, I mean, I know we're doing a couple projects with grants, but if there's any grants available for these types of issues.
One of my past lives was working in wastewater, and there were SRF loans. There's like the drinking water side of thing does have that same capability to obtain loans, and that would be through the drinking water program at CDC. I do believe a board member has asked about that, and a while back, we were getting questions from Susan Bro? I believe so, yeah, at the drinking water program. So,
And then as far as like flow paths, I mean, is it unknown without further testing? Does it go up in elevation? Does it go down in elevation? Does it really, like?
it's primarily going to travel in the direction of the water, so we're not going to go up in elevation. So, yeah, it's going to want to flow downhill or down gradient from the source to the low spot.
Okay.
Did you say that there's something called Syra Materials out of Sanford that was possibly involved in the business park? How do you spell Syra?
Cyros, C-Y-R-O-S.
And that was near the salt shed, that area? Or is that also dumped up in the dump?
I don't know about Central Avenue.
I think it was the mill. Well, that was the mill.
Yeah.
And they were dumping here, in our dump? Or where?
Well, anything that happened would be primarily in the 286 area and the old landfill.
And so they didn't own that land. They were given permission from our town? Is that what we're hearing? They were given permission from our, I guess I'm asking the selectmen, do you know? And why do we think it was them? Was there something that Because
Couldn't tell you.
someone,
Somewhere along the line, somebody's talking about something, I don't know.
so we don't know if it was really
Oh,
them.
yeah.
We don't know who gave them permission to dump up here. They didn't own the land, so someone gave them permission to dump in Limerick. We don't know. Okay. Thank you. Who owned that land before it became a dump? Who owned that land before it became a dump?
We did.
Which one?
You did, your family? And you deeded it to the town for a dump?
Good point that I think everybody will appreciate. Before the formation of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, take Hooker Chemical, that was out in New York State. They caused Love Canal. What they did to produce Love Canal, there was no regulation and no law to make them not do that. So it's very difficult prior to the institution of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and more so the RECRA regulations, which are the hazardous waste regulations. There was no regulations to stop people from doing this, and no way to track it. So I just thought that was important to say.
It's a good point.
Yes, Tony Carroll from Limerick Water District.
Hi, Tony.
Our wells are approximately a half a mile to the north of this site. So our water isn't the greatest quality. We have a fight with iron. We're working on it. We put in a treatment system. It's not working as well as it should. We're after the engineers to work on it some more. But we test our water. It's safe. It's got a high iron in it. But it's aesthetic quality. It's not a drinking, it's not a health issue or anything like that. This dump that we're talking about down here, in the 50s, GE was in the mill down here. They made titanium and germanium rectifiers there. I asked the person that his father was a boss there, I said, what did they make there? And he said they made, and if you look up those rectifiers, you will find that this chemical was in there. So if you're wondering where that came from, folks, it came from GE. And GE is still a viable company. So I think when it comes down to the town of GE, I think it should be on GE.
Yeah, but if the town gave someone permission to dump, then the town's responsible, right?
Not necessarily.
If they knew it was a contaminant, they didn't tell anybody before they started dumping.
GE moved out of town, I think, in 1958. That dump was closed in the early 60s. When the heel factory came in and was using where Limerick Machine is now, was in the early 60s. So that dump site was not, if it was used by them, it was used very little. So, thank you.
I have a question for the select board. So particularly with 235 and 236 Central Avenue, being that they are contaminated and it was from a town dump, when is the next assessor going to come out and reassess the properties to decrease their property taxes? Because the estimated value of these houses have decreased by a lot. So when is that going to happen?
Guess we'll have to speak to the assessor.
You will. Yes, thank you.
about things that we're having happen now. When we're making decisions now about possible things that could contaminate our town, are we taking this into consideration? Do we want this to happen in 40 more years? That's all I'm asking.
Courtney, would you make a note for me to check with the assessor? Any other questions? Sure, Tony.
I'd like to know why this site hasn't been declared a brown site by these people. What is the criteria for it to be declared a brown site? And then we can get all kinds of federal money to get water out there.
So this is, I have personally asked that question internally as far as would this qualify as a brownfield site? And I believe that you have talked with Christopher Redmond, who is in charge of a brownfield site, and he said that this would not fit that definition. So I personally am not an expert in brownfields and VRAP. I am in the uncontrolled sites program, and I believe when we talked on the phone a while back, I deferred you to Mr. Redmond, and you two discussed this, so.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Is the person that you're referring to that said that doesn't meet the qualifications, is he the last word on that, or is there another person above him or beside him or another agency that is capable of stepping in and making it another determination?
To have 236 declared as a brownfield site, it could always be posed again and the question asked. He could talk to his managers and see if that still holds true post-meeting, but I'm sure it's probably going to be the same determination. I can't speak for him. That is slightly above my level. So.
There must be someone above that person's level.
Yep, we have many bosses.
I can identify with
Yeah.
that. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Question: if your water source is from a different place and your house is located close to one of these sites, could the air still be contaminated if your water comes from someplace else? Do you know what I'm saying? If your
Right.
well is far away. Or
Right. So say, just for instance, your well's 1,000 feet away, and your house is touching the corner of the plume. Then yeah, that could be a thing. With respect to this, fortunately, would you like to? Yeah.
Hi, Brendan again. But we have pretty much a fairly similar scenario where 250 Central Ave, you can see the house, actually it's buried behind where the words for 236 Central Ave are. Their house is over there, but their well is on the other side of the road next to Levitt Brook. The well is non-detect. There were low levels below our rags of soil gas in 250 underneath this house. The vapor intrusion pathway is different than what you would see in a groundwater pathway. Yeah, good question.
I have a question. Tony brought it up about what is this brown site?
It's actually brownfields. That's a program where towns would have properties that do have some contamination on it, and they're looking to redevelop. This functionally really isn't the same scenario. per se. This is more of a closed landfill, uncontrolled site scenario. If time were to march on and say like residents were to no longer live there and like say the town acquired the surrounding properties through back taxes and then they wanted to go through and do something different with the property, then they could apply to the Brownfields program for further investigation, remediation, and potential funding. So.
Okay, I don't know if you were with DEP when this happened, but what's the there is similarities, it seems, between what's happening here and the McKinn site in Gray. Anybody familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that site.
That was a federal cleanup.
Yeah. Yeah, I have here Mr. Nick Hodgkins, who's actually a boss of a boss. So he can speak to this.
Yeah, I'm Nick Hodgkins. I'm the director of the Division of Remediation. The McKinn site is a Superfund site, so it is an EPA-led cleanup. I don't know what the final cost was at McKinn site, but when you talk about Superfund sites all over Maine, you're talking a $50 million to $100 million cleanup in assessment. This site certainly doesn't approach that. We have worse sites in the state that are not Superfund sites, but they're worse than this. You know, more houses, more residences, wells impacted. I also used to be the head of the Brownfields program, and that's still within my division. This site, for a number of reasons. One, you guys owned it at one time. You're going to be considered a responsible party or potentially responsible party. Brownfields is an EPA program. That's where all the money comes from. They're going to look at the eligibility. They're going to say you're not an eligible applicant for the money. Two, it's not really a redevelopment site as such, so there are a lot of reasons that they are not going to want this. So if you go down the Brownfields path now, you're going to spend some time and effort, and you've got about a 0.2% chance of getting that money. I'm just being totally blunt with you. So this is a site right now that we have come into, figured out where we have people that were impacted. We're working hard to make sure those people, the impacts are mitigated. The next steps, we're still looking at those. We are an agency that doesn't have unlimited resources. We would certainly love to come in and look at the Central Ave dump some more and see what we might be able to do with it. Right now, we probably don't have the resources for that. We have 200 other sites in the Uncontrolled Sites program in the state, some with more problems, some with less. So our first concern at this site and at all those sites is making sure we're taking care of the people that have impacted water and air. I would like to say we're going to go out there and do a lot. I think we can look at other options, start evaluating those. It might involve bringing EPA in, not in the Brownfields program. That's not going to work. I can tell you it's not going to work. But there are other programs that may be able to do something here, and we're hopeful for that. But I will also tell you, another aside for the Brownfields program, the funding this last year for cleanup had a maximum of $4 million. That's going away. The top for cleanup is going to be $500,000, which might help extend a water line, especially since we have a lot of sand here, so it's pretty easy to install one. But it's just not a likely resource anymore to do the job. It's not likely you would get that money, and it's less likely that it would be enough money to even do the job. But we're going to keep working on this. None of our sites, in my mind, are static. We don't just say, boy, we're done that. We're not going to think about it again. As long as we know we have contamination, we keep thinking about those sites. What do we have for priorities? How might we help move this forward? We're going to keep thinking about that here. But our main concern and where we're putting our money is going to be making sure people have clean drinking water and don't have bad air in their house. And we'll just keep working on the rest. We'll keep looking for resources to help out, you know. But I don't want you guys to spend time going down a dead-end street.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I have one question. I haven't heard anything about the trailer park that's, there are trailers that sit on that old dump, say.
Gail.
Is their air been checked?
So, mobile homes do not have a basement. They have a lot of them have a slab and a crawl space, and the crawl space is not airtight, and you don't have a stack effect that draws the crawl space air into the building. The insulation is usually at the floor level, so solar gas is not getting into the mobile homes. And all the mobile homes are on public water, so the water's been tested. So that's why we haven't done anything else there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Tony?
Yes, just Tony Carroll, I'm chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Water District. Limerick Water District has acquired about $4 million in the last 4 to 5 years for treatment, for line replacement, where we had water lines and sewer lines. And the way we got that money is we asked for it and we pushed for it. We didn't take no for an answer. We wanted to put a new well in. We were told there was no money to help us put a well in. We got people from the drinking water program came down. We went down there and said, we'd like to put a new well in until we can get, see if we can get a reduced iron content until we can get treatment on. And there was a fellow that took us under his wing and said, we'll help you. We'll help you get the well in, and we'll help you get the treatment done. We got it done. It's not working the way it should. We've got engineers working on it, and they're supposed to be working on it this week. But there are funds available, but you can't take no for an answer. You've got to say, that fellow that's in that office might tell you no, but his boss might not. Thank you.
Anyone else like to say anything? Okay. Well, I guess we will close this hearing then. Go on our regularly scheduled selectmen's meeting.
Howard, should we take a 5-minute break just to allow
Sure.
people to clear out?
Take a 5-minute break. Okay, we're back on air here. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting portion of this evening's agendas. If everybody would welcome flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept last week's warrants? Anybody viewed them? I know I
Only did the payroll, I didn't have time to do the payables.
did. You?
Just a payroll one.
Okay, I guess we're gonna have to wait till next week then. Okay.
Well,
You can vote on.
This warrant should have included the payments for the drawdown of number 4. I'm hoping those checks are available. Okay.
Did we get a bill in on that?
Yes, oh yes.
I haven't seen anything on it.
She has it all, and the treasurer has it all. I don't know what you do with it, except they're going to expect payment, and they'll be here next Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have to follow up on that one then.
we should make a motion to accept the payroll warrants. It sounds like there's enough of us that reviewed them.
Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Vote.
Who made the motion, who seconded? For the payroll warrants? Just for minute purposes?
Yes, I seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, motion to approve the June 23rd meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, going on announcements.
The Select Board will meet on Tuesday, July 7th at 7 p.m. There will be a Deep Vale construction meeting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, in the media room at the Municipal Building. All municipal offices will be closed on Friday, July 3rd, in observations of the 4th of July holiday. The Budget Committee is looking for 2 new members to join. Please contact the Select Board admin. And if interested, the Select Board is looking for 4 individuals to join the Appeals Board. Please contact the Select Board admin at selectboardadmin@limerickme.org if interested. The Select Board asks that you silence your cell phones during meetings in order to limit interference with microphones or discussion of agenda topics. And as part of the hearing, a citizens policy, no personal attacks on any individual or firm, including town employees, town officials, and members of the public, will be tolerated during any meetings. Please direct concerns about individual employees or town officials to the chairman of the Board of Select Persons outside the public meeting. For your convenience, complaint forms are readily available at the sign-in table.
Okay, thanks. We don't have any department reports tonight. Next hearing of citizens.
Just want to announce that starting tomorrow night, we have bingo with the Historical Society up at the Bricktown Hall. New this year, it's 7 weeks. Yeah. I've been cooking all day, guys, so supper will be prepared. Come on down. Doors open at 4:40. Calling first starts at 6 p.m. Limerick Historical Society is sponsoring a craft fair on July 18th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're still looking for vendors, so please reach out. That's it.
Okay, thank you. John?
I want to follow up on some questions I had last week. A couple of them involve spending money, even though it wasn't a lot of money. Even I'm not going to follow up on those because you shouldn't be spending any money right now. Do you know what your bank balance is as of today?
Yes.
Can you
I
elaborate?
don't have it right now.
Roughly?
1.8 million.
Same as it was last week.
It's actually a little less because of today's warrant, but
But you approved 2 warrants last week.
whatever it is, John, it's it's a little over 1.8 million.
So, but last week you approved 2 weeks' worth of warrants. Did those checks go out?
Yes,
Has the school been paid for the month?
as far as I know,
The school's been paid for June?
yes.
So the check's been paid?
Because I asked Julie when the next one was going out, and she said it'd be in July, middle of July,
So the June payment has been sent to the school?
as far as I know.
Okay. Do you know when it was sent?
No?
Okay.
You'll have to ask the treasurer.
I can ask, well, I asked the school. They hadn't received it.
Well, ask Julie. She takes care
Where
of
are
it.
you not all concerned that your bank balance is the same a week ago as it was today? How does that?
I
without-
don't know that.
Well, last week you said it was, you went to the bank
Yes?
and said it was $1.8 million.
She gave me a printout this afternoon, and I didn't bring it with me tonight.
Is there any way that we could get a copy of the printout each week? I tried to log in today and my access to the bank has been shut off. So I would like to see the checking account balance each week with the printed reports that we're supposed to get each week as well.
So
all you've got to do is ask Julie
I've
to send
emailed
it to
her so many times that I do not get a response, and due to my injury, I cannot get in here right now.
Well, you better call her.
She won't answer. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole.
Where are you at with the tax anticipation note?
That is going to be delivered to us on Thursday. That came in, I found out late this afternoon.
So what came in?
The information from the attorney that's reviewing it and dealing with the bank, they said the paperwork would be here Thursday.
And the banks approved it?
Yes.
Okay. What about the, we talked last week about the rescue billing money. Has that been caught up and taken out of the general account?
That rescue billing is, I spoke to Julie, she's going to have the information available to me tomorrow. That money is sitting in the account right now, and all it has to do is be brought over. And for some reason, she was waiting for us to tell her to move it over because of something that was said in a meeting or whatever. But it's supposed to be, I told her it had to be moved over.
So our general checking is potentially $200,000 less than what we
Our
think.
checking account right now is $1,890,195.09.
And what's the rescue account on that?
The rescue is $844,568.18, and I believe that's the same as it was last week, because they haven't moved the money over.
Exactly. So the checking account
That's
will go.
it's one of those items that's being worked on with the, with the accountants.
We have a lot of those items being worked on.
And we have a forensic accountant looking at it right now.
I mean, is there anything that you can do? Clearly, there are issues in that department. You can look at it till you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
What's being done so that on a daily basis, this isn't getting any worse? I mean, you look at these reports that are coming out. I mean, the report that was online today shows current month's debits and current month's credits of almost $12 million. $11,997,000, $11,934,000. That's more than your whole budget for the year. So I don't know how you can get a report that says that's the number for the month. You guys must have seen this report, right? Did you get it from Julie?
I just
today?
got the full report this afternoon.
I mean, I would think that someone would look at that number and say, Like, $12 million shouldn't be there. Like, that's got to be wrong. I mean, something's got to be done. Last week, we had $1.8 million in the bank. Today, we got the same thing. Did we not pay any checks in 2 weeks? Did no checks come paid in a week? That seems impossible to me. The school check you say is out. When I spoke to the business,
John, that has been sent out.
When I spoke to the business manager, they haven't got it. So clearly, you're not getting good information. It's not, these problems aren't your fault. I've sat in that seat. These problems aren't your fault. I'll be the first one to say it. But you have a major problem that's just not being addressed to try to solve it. I mean, put somebody in there that the board hires to run the books on behalf of the board and pay the treasurer to sign checks. Fix your problem. We've got rescue billing money that we're using that we've never ever used, and now we're using it to pay everyday bills.
No.
Well, yes, you are, because it's in your checking account and you're using it. It should be transferred as it comes in. It should be transferred. The rescue billing account has lost thousands in interest. That's a high yield account. So for the past year and a half, nothing going in there. All that money is sitting in our sweep account, which gets lousy interest, when it should have been in the high yield account, getting good interest for the rescue billing. And if it's in that account, clearly you're using it. I mean, again, I don't, the 4 or 5 of you that sit here, these problems, you didn't create them. And again, I know, because like I said, I've sat there. But at some point, you have to find a solution to the problem. And it's not just saying, well, there's nothing we can do, okay? It's clear last week that the treasurer paid herself. I mean, you can not admit it and you can hide through smoke and mirrors and stuff. It's clear that she was the one that paid herself for holiday pay. I mean, that's tantamount to theft as far as I'm concerned. She knew. I mean,
that's all being dealt with, John. We have got.
But you got a treasurer that's wreaking havoc and has been since the day she got here.
And we are working with accountants and the attorneys. It's mind-boggling what's going on. And we're trying to get to the bottom of this so that any of us can look at that sheet and say, that's exactly what's going on. We've got problems now going back, we're looking at in the last audit.
Oh, the 2024 audit, the audit's only as good as the information the auditor's given. There's no doubt that they backed into numbers in that audit to get it to that magic. She was within $8, okay? That was garbage. They had no good information to deal with, so they used numbers to get it to come out right. Okay?
That is exactly why we brought in, have got another person reviewing that whole thing right now. He's asked for more. As a matter of fact, Julie sent him some more information he asked for today. The big problem with the other audit and the new auditor that we've hired said there is no documentation from R.H.R. Smith of what they did. And every audit should have documentation on it. And we just didn't get it.
Well, because they didn't have, no one gave them the information they needed to do it. And that's,
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's, I'd still say that you have a daily problem going on there. That going back and looking at 2024 audit.
Well, we got a daily problem because of the lawsuit. And the recall and everything else. It's still haunting us.
I don't disagree. Pay the woman to sit there and sign checks at the end of the week and bring somebody else in to run your books.
We've already taken the payroll away.
Okay.
Courtney is now doing our payroll.
Well, you need to take everything away.
No, we didn't.
Well, you do.
Legally, we can't.
Well, I disagree.
That's what the attorney tells us.
She can oversee them. She can sign checks. She can produce warrants that somebody else does or oversees to make sure they're correct.
That whole situation, John.
Are fiction.
That whole situation with the treasurer has all been they're working under a sealed order with a judge.
I've seen it. I know, I've read it. I get it. She's got a get out of jail free card. I've seen it. She's got a get out of jail free card.
And
But because what? What do you mean because of me? I didn't sign it. You don't think she should have been recalled? You don't see these problems? Do you people not see these problems?
It wasn't just John, I was also part of that.
It's been going on since day one. Okay, so don't blame the recall. If the recall happened, these problems might have been fixed by now. Okay, they've just compounded every day since then. So don't blame it on me or Brady or Burnham. Okay, we tried to find a solution to the problem that, quite frankly, this board isn't doing right now.
But in doing so, we created a big problem.
What's that?
In doing so, you created a big problem. Now we're dealing with spending thousands of dollars on attorney's fees and accounting fees that we never should be doing. And
Not because she wasn't properly recalled by the court, because some judge and her fast-talking lawyer got a judge to sign the injunction. I get it. I get all that. I understand it all. That still doesn't solve our problem. The problem is the books and the reports, everything is just going downhill fast by the day.
And we're trying to do everything we can to try and straighten that mess out.
Doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't happen overnight. And it takes money. Money we shouldn't be paying. We have a lot of other things in this town we have to do, and unfortunately, we can't do a lot of things because we're dealing with legal fees, and who knows where this is gonna go. This is the part that scares me. I know I deal with these lawyers and the accountants almost on a daily basis now.
Let me ask you a question. The treasurer is in office until next March.
Yeah.
Can we pay her next March and tell her to go home?
From what I understand, no.
Okay. Can we offer it to her? Would she take that as a settlement to leave and say, if she agreed to it, pay her till next March and you'll save money?
She has put her feet firmly in the ground, said, I'm not leaving because I got elected and I'm not leaving until my term is up.
Has she been offered to be paid through her term and leave?
There has been discussions on it, but nothing's,
Has she been offered to be paid through next March
if she
and said no?
If she walked in here tomorrow and said, I'm all done, I need a check for whatever situation, that'd be a different story. But even changing over payroll, there was a fight.
I don't disagree.
And it puts us in a very awkward position dealing with all this. Because I don't like sitting here looking at something and saying, I'm not quite sure this is right.
And it's been that way for 2+ years.
Yeah.
Okay? You stood here before you sat there and admonished us for a long time because we didn't have good reports. And you stood here countless times and said, when I was a selectman, every week we had a good report.
We did.
I'm sure you did. We didn't have that luxury that you had. But you're seeing it now, what you're getting is the mess that we got.
And I've told you many times, John, the only reason I'm sitting here today is because I saw a lot of problems when you were on the board.
Correct. What have you done to fix them?
We're working on it, believe me. I spend more time working on town stuff than I do my own business stuff.
Again, I don't disagree with you, but I don't know, has anything gotten better? Anything gotten better? As far as I can see from these reports, things are getting worse.
Well,
things are getting worse. I mean, you got numbers that...
I can't say that they're getting worse, John. We're working on it, and I don't know how much longer we're going to be working on it. I can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. When that forensic auditor calls me and says, here's the problems, I'll feel better. But he's just started.
And whatever day he says that to you, he can start over that day from that day to whatever, because
Well,
every day they're getting worse.
But the big problem here is we were supposed to have, and I haven't spoken to him for a couple of weeks, is we've got a new auditor coming in. And either the guy that I'm dealing with right now, I said the board's dealing with right now, the forensic auditor, unless he can find where the problems are, and there has been, with the help of Wendy Thorne, we've sent her spreadsheet that she, he's got them now, and without his help, we're either going to pay a little bit up front for him to straighten that out, or we're going to pay at the other end when the auditor comes in, because we've contracted him for a certain amount of money, and then after that, we've got to pay him so much an hour.
Is that the forensic auditor or the regular auditor?
The regular auditor.
Why, just out of curiosity, why do you have a forensic auditor getting it together for the regular auditor?
It all came about when Wendy came in and was talking about she couldn't find certain things.
The capital accounts are a mess.
Right.
How much are we paying?
Right now, we're not paying the forensic auditor a dime because he's doing this. What he's doing is looking over all the books, and he says, when I see a problem, then the time starts.
But he's doing it for
gonna
free?
fix it.
He's reviewing them for free?
He has not mentioned a dime for anything. So
I love some pro bono work, that's great.
I'll be careful.
Hopefully we don't get a bill because we don't have money.
I'll tell you, I think, from what I gathered talking to him, he's doing it as a favor to this new auditor.
Oh, I didn't even know
And he's also
had
the
a
one-
forensic auditor. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, this one, just so you'll know, the problems, I know Lisa put this on Facebook, which probably shouldn't have, but anyway. The problems that they had down east, when they had the problems with the county.
Knox County, yeah.
Yeah. The auditor that we've got coming in, that did that work, the guy that is looking at the books right now, went up and took over and worked on that mess for 2 towns.
Well,
So I'm hopeful that maybe he can come in and look at this and say, this is a quick fix. I can get this done quick.
Can we go back to the forensic auditor? Who picked that?
I did it through the new auditor.
Okay.
Because based on, what happened, he called up and said, look, I've got to start, I want to start July 15th. Is everything all set? And I told him, I said, he asked for the order from R.H.R. Smith, and I sent it to him, and he said, well, there's some issues here, and I really want to see those squared away, if we can, before I start.
Was there
So
any
it's
other
either-
board member that helped pick this auditor?
Yeah, Julie and I have been talking to him.
Any other select board member that helped pick this
Jerry,
auditor?
We were aware of
We're
it.
aware of it.
Okay, I have not, I mean, I'm one of the 5 selectmen members, and there's no way that a forensic auditor who got a lot of certifications to be established as a forensic auditor is going to look at the town of Limerick's books and do it for free. There's no way. And I personally, as an elected selectman of this town, would like to have known that we had a forensic auditor coming in, because our auditor has sat in here and said a forensic audit means something scary. So,
Well, the term forensic audit does,
Our previous auditor and the guy from the state, Matt Dunlop, I think it is he the state? He told me personally, the only time we will get involved and the only time you need to do a forensic audit is when you think money is missing. And as far as I know, right up until 10 minutes ago, no one ever said that. I'm not saying anybody's saying it now, but we always refuted the forensic audit because since day one, there has never, ever been the thought or it ever been said that there's any thought that there's any money missing. But now we have a forensic auditor, I guess that might
The
make
fact of the matter
me
is, we
nervous.
don't know any of this, John. That's the trouble.
And the
If there-
trouble is,
if there
tomorrow,
was-
as long as we keep going the way we're going, tomorrow you're gonna know less, and the day after that, you're gonna know even less. Because it just keeps compounding, getting worse and worse. Until you do something and bring somebody in there on a daily basis to run the books for the board, which you can do. You can hire a bookkeeper, we were told, we can hire a bookkeeper to work for the board that can be outside the purview of the treasurer, and they can run the books for the town, and the treasurer can do her obligated, her statutory obligated, whatever she has to do. So,
To this point, we haven't been told that. We have asked, okay?
you may want to ask again.
Brad?
Brad Libby. Pretty curious about the rescue billing account. I'm pretty upset about that. I was part of the conversation many years ago with the fire department and the Board of Selectmen. Sonny LePage came up here and spoke to everybody. We had many meetings about it at the fire station, and we assured the town of Limerick that if the rescue billing was put into an account, an interest-bearing account, and not touched, the fire department would buy its own ambulance and never ask the town for a nickel. So far, that's happened. In fact, the rescue billing account has provided numerous pieces of equipment for the fire department that was not directly related to the ambulance, and I think it's a travesty that somehow that money's been overlooked. It's horrible. I mean, embezzlement, no, I don't think that's a good word. I don't think it's an accurate word, and I shouldn't even say it. But I got to tell you, incompetence, malfeasance, those are a couple of words that I think apply to some people, one in particular, and I think it's awful. I mean, it seems almost like you guys are scared to mention that lady's name for fear of your heads catching fire. But it's terrible. It's terrible. 100 years ago, this situation would have been resolved with tar, feathers, and a rail to run out of town. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we live in a kind of gentler society, and I think it's maybe too damn bad.
I have a couple of questions. If your treasurer is overpaying herself salary and overpaying for a holiday, isn't that fraud? Isn't that fraud and embezzlement? Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone who's in charge of the money and is overpaying herself, isn't that fraud and embezzlement in the open? And isn't that something worthy of calling the state in or calling in somebody?
I definitely think it's worth getting a legal opinion, but I don't want to agree that it's that because that opens up a can of worms.
It does open up a big
But
can of
I
worms.
think
what would you call
we do
it?
need to.
What would you call that?
I do believe we need to get our attorney in on this because it's been multiple times that she has put that on the warrant. So I do believe we need to talk to our attorney on this, unless we've already talked to our attorney about this, and I just don't know, because that seems to be a
brings up another
theme.
question. Howard, are you conferring with the other board members when you are having discussions or hiring forensic experts? Is the
What it
whole
is,
board being
we
called in?
made-
Or are you just executively making decisions?
No.
Well, it would appear that Brady is not aware.
There was some discussion about it, getting somebody else in here to do it, but I didn't know that we'd hired one.
That was brought up quite a few weeks ago. But as far as dealing with the attorneys, yeah, I've dealt with them. Julie has dealt with them. we've been primarily the two that deal with the attorneys, plain and simple.
You keep
You
saying
know,
Julie, do you mean Lori?
I mean Lori, pardon me. I'm always saying that.
This is at a level that I would expect and hope that the whole board is conferring and everybody's well-informed. I don't think it should be revealed at a meeting that Brady is not aware of.
Well, you gotta
certain
remember,
things.
Brady's been on sick leave, so.
Well, there is
There's
email,
email.
there are, you can make
Like you
phone
said, there's
calls.
phone calls.
There's phone calls. But really very concerning to me is that you have somebody in a position of overseeing the money, writing herself her own paycheck, overpaying herself, that rises to the level of something that should be addressed and not just look the other way upon.
All I'm gonna say is that we found issues, and that's the reason why Courtney is now doing the payroll.
Okay. I would ask that
I can't go
you,
any farther than that.
okay, we have someone in an office that is irresponsibly playing with the funds.
We don't know that.
Well, if she has overpaid, she months ago said, based upon her many, many years of experience and knowledge, she was due to be paid an exorbitant amount of money and do a pay raise. That same individual now doesn't know that she shouldn't be paid for a holiday. I mean, she can't have it both ways. I do believe that you should address the fact that she knowingly overpaid herself. And I would ask that you look into that and take it to a higher level. That's illegal.
It has been addressed.
In what way?
With the attorneys,
And what are they doing?
but we haven't got a response back yet.
When did you speak to the attorneys?
A couple weeks ago.
Have you followed up?
Yeah, matter of fact, I tried to get hold of him today. The attorney that, Ben, that we get hold of, he's very busy, and we've been playing phone tag the past couple days, so.
So where does it stand now?
I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow, once I get hold of him, if I get hold of him. That's all I can tell you.
Unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of answers to a lot of these issues.
Well, unfortunately, when you're dealing with accountants and you're dealing with attorneys, it takes forever to get something done.
Well, I think we have a crisis going on and something very emergent that deserves attention.
Tony?
Yeah, I would just like to make a few comments about Deep Vale down there where the piping, all the water lines are in the ground and all the sewer lines in the ground. They're all pressure tested. The hydrants are in. They'll be swapping over people next week, I believe, onto the new line. The main line, the big line, is all chlorinated. The one that goes up Emery Corner, I think they're in the process of chlorinating that now. One question I've got about the town business is, how much money are we going to borrow on tax anticipation note? How much money are we thinking about borrowing?
We put in for 2.5 million.
So last year we borrowed, I believe, 400,000?
I
Yes.
can't
The loan
remember.
the loan last year was 1.7 million.
We drew.
We at one point drew $400,000. The treasurer drew $400,000 that we didn't need to draw because we never got below that point. So the last 2 years, we've taken out tax anticipation notes that we have not needed to draw from, but we had them in place in case they were needed. 2 years ago, we drew $400,000 I sat on the board, I agreed with drawing that. In the end, we didn't need to draw it, so we paid it right back. Last year, the treasurer on her own drew the $400,000 because she said it was the same day we did it the year before. We didn't need that money, and it didn't get paid back for months.
I'm a taxpayer in the town of Cornish. Cornish gets their tax bills out early in August, and they give us 2% if we pay them right off. And I think rather than paying the bank the interest, we ought to be giving the break to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Anyone else? Cheryl?
This is not what I was going to speak about tonight, but I got just to add a little bit more. This sounds as if it's could be a crisis, could not be a crisis. It's not the first one in this town. Several years ago, there was a screw up on a previous board, and it cost us almost $100,000 because they didn't want to do any work up to the Brick Town Hall. They kept postponing it, lawyers' fees, suing, everything was settled, everything was done. Oh, no, it wasn't done. We had to go to court again because there was like a half a dozen things that didn't get done because some of the board members didn't follow through. So I'm just thinking, you know, guys, think back a few years, and this must be a problem, yes, but there's a lot of problems that the previous boards had, and the boards should kind of get straightened out too. We're waiting for the new one. It seems to be doing quite well. If we have hired employees, well, the treasurer's the last one that's going to be hired, voted on by the looks, except for the selectmen. So then if we hire one, then everybody can complain about someone didn't hire the right person. All I'm going to say on that. What I was going to come up here and talk about was the plowing contract. I don't know what you're going to do about it. There's a few, well, on page 6, 5A, it says, 1-year contract will not be, no. No, that's page 8, C. There's discrepancy in the wording about the sand being put up by the contractor with the salt, which is supposed to be. That's what they do. And then on the next page, they're saying that the sand and the salt, saying that they, the town paid for or contributed to, cannot be used on anybody's private land or whatever. It has to be done for town, okay? And, okay. Got it. All sand and salt required by this agreement shall be paid for by the contractor. It will be responsible of the contractor to stockpile 2,000 yards of sand and salt mix no later than October 1st, 2026, maintained through the season. The contractor will maintain by restocking 60 ton of salt in the salt shed. Okay. Then, that's on page 7, number A, letter A. On the next page, 8, contractor shall use said sand and salt provided by the town to fulfill its obligations under agreement. The contractor's doing it, the town's not. So, whatever. It's just, I don't know what you want to do with it. I'm just bringing this up.
Well, that has to be taken out of it.
Well, I would think so, yes, but on that. And then there was a question on equipment, A. The 26,000 ton trucks all had to have scraper blades.
One.
Well, this says 3, what you got to have, not limited to minimum of 3 trucks, 26,000, equipped with highway blades, scraper blades, wings, sanders, and capacity for 5 to 7 yards. Now, underneath, you got to have a 54,000 GVW equipped with highway blade, scraper blade, wing, and sander. It's going to add to the contract because the guy's got to have more scraper.
Only one truck,
Yeah, well,
and it is the larger of the bunch.
okay, well, it says in here that the three have to too. The 26,000-pound ones have to have scraper blades also. I don't know, I just reading it. Then,
Wait.
It doesn't say it on there.
it's, the scraper blade ones is page 8, under equipment, 6A.
You didn't by any chance get over a draft one, did you?
No, I picked it up from Courtney, what was it? Wednesday morning, when they were all out. She had a pile of them in her little file, and she gave them to me.
No, we said that one of the trucks had to have the,
Highway blades, scraper
Center
blades.
blade, center mount
Just
scraper
one.
blade.
Yeah, just
Well,
one heavier.
One.
that's not what the contracts are out. Anyway,
Well,
there's something, I'm just bringing it to attention, you have to do what you do, whatever. And the other list of roads, Moffett Road, the Cornish plows, and Tufts, I believe, Leamington plows, and then the money has to come out of the contractor to pay for that because whatever.
$750.
That's nowhere in the contract that money comes out of the contractor's pay. Just, you can read it over again, I'm just bringing whatever,
I guess
okay?
we're gonna have to.
Yes, okay.
Tomorrow morning,
And-
as a matter of fact.
One last thing would be Alea Drive. I know a while ago that was supposed to be second coated paved and everything, but then there was something about, Franco had come up, they wanted to put the water in the sewer, which is great because you don't want to cut up a brand-new road, and that still hasn't been done, so you've got that real big manhole right in the middle of the road. Come winter, that's not going to be nice. Is that road going to be done before the bids are awarded?
I'd have to check with Stan and see what the status is on them building down in there and running that main.
But I mean, that's why they didn't, because they were supposed to put the, if I remember right, they were supposed to pave at the second coat or whatever before they could put any more houses in, but
Right,
there was a
we have that
waiver of
money
some
in
kind.
escrow.
Yeah, yeah, but that's, I mean, here it is, the end of June, going into July, whatever, I'm just saying.
I don't know what Carol's schedule is.
Yeah, yeah, No, it's just something to, food for thought.
I'll
And
ask Stan.
somebody said something about we may be having some cooling stations for this heat wave that we're having. No? Yes?
If we have to open up, the only place that we basically have designated as a cooling station is the new fire station.
Oh, I don't know.
But
I know several years ago,
I
we just
know-
didn't have the capacity or anybody to watch or
But we
whatever,
haven't-
but,
We haven't talked about it as a board.
No.
I think this building is designated as a cooling station.
okay. All right. I think that's it for the time being, but I just wanted to bring those, I mean, the bids aren't due until the 14th there. I don't know what you're gonna, but with the discrepancies and stuff, it's not good.
Cheryl, I'll just touch base on your first comment about
Okay.
new board versus old boards. The one thing that I have an issue with is everybody on the new board, except for me and Wade, in their candidates night, they boasted about transparency, and it's multiple times that Wade and I specifically have been left out, whether it's emails about bid specs or this. That is what I have an issue about. So yes, I will fully admit, while I sat on that last board, there were some issues, but this new board that has so much transparency is the most secretive board, the most executive session board of any towns that I've ever seen. And that's what I have an issue with. So I just wanted to comment on that. It's not remember the old boards and all the stuff that happened then.
No, I'm just saying that everything's been brought up in the treasurer and everything. Well, everything's not always hunky-dory with all of the boards and peoples and in the hirees and the votees or
Yeah.
whoever.
We were all
I'm just
promised
saying.
change.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just tiring to hear all this pounding, pounding, pounding. Just let everything, lawyers, accountants, whatever, whoever's taking care of it. It didn't seem to bother $100,000 just to put a few things into a brick town hall that's useless, that can't be, and they still want to put more money in it.
It's tiring to be kept in the dark.
I
said it's tiring to be kept in the dark.
Well,
What's the point of me sitting on this board if I'm not going to know anything and make decisions?
So how the hell do you think I felt for a year when I was sitting
yeah, I was
on
gonna
the
say, I
board?
remember when he was the Nicky New guy there, he wasn't getting any emails, he wasn't getting any papers, and I think the whole board ought to just sit down and play right.
What?
You weren't reading your emails. A lot of
Oh,
the time
yes,
you
I
kept
was.
saying you weren't getting emails. and
No, I'm
sure
talking
was
about the
sending it.
previous board that I sat on for a year.
I wasn't
A
on that.
lot of stuff that was done there, I had nothing to do with. And that, we're not gonna go down that road anymore. Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
I would like to know what the policy is for people getting into personnel files. Who's allowed to and who's not allowed to?
No one's allowed to get into personnel files. The
Selectmen allowed to?
only one that has anything to do with personnel files is Courtney. She's,
So your selectmen don't
Okay.
go into personnel files either?
I'll take that back, Julie does.
I don't. I've never been in the personnel file. I don't want to go in the personnel file.
Neither
Why
do
would
I.
Julie go into personnel files? She's a treasurer.
If she has to get information like social security numbers or whatever, for whatever she's dealing with,
Well, usually they give her the forms that the employees fill out, go to her with the social security number and the withholdings and all that. I just telling you, there's a lot of information coming out from information off the board, a selectman's family member about personnel issues. So that's why I'm asking you, who has access to personnel files?
basically, it's just Courtney and
Courtney,
Julie.
do you have a key to that? You do. I think it's.
I don't think she's supposed to have.
Yeah, I think the treasurer has a key to it. As far as I'm aware, none of the selectmen have keys to it. It's a locked file cabinet that is protected information. We can add stuff to personnel files, but we're not physically adding it. We can give it to Julie to put into the personnel file.
Well, I'm just bringing this up because it's a select board spouse that's running the mouth about personnel files, coming up with all these
Well, that's the
information.
first time I've heard about it.
Well, Facebook, Howard,
Yeah, lovely.
but it's your personnel, your select person's spouse.
Now you're making accusations.
No, I have proof. I have the Facebooks. I'll bring them to you. That's why I'm asking you, who has access to personnel files? Shouldn't be a spouse of a select board.
Presently, right now, I know they're under lock and key.
Okay. Somebody's got it.
And you know something? Maybe I shouldn't say that, but those were sitting on top of a file cabinet up until recently when Courtney found them.
Well, where's the filing cabinet? I'm asking because I don't have a clue.
Right out in the hall.
And who would
That's
be
illegal.
responsible for
That's
that?
illegal.
Who's responsible?
I'm not going to name names, but I know who was.
I just think
They
it's
no
pretty
longer,
sad
they no longer work here.
when there's no control over spouses running on their mouths about personnel issues.
Well, I am not aware of that, and I will speak to her about it.
I'll give you copies.
Well, I'm sure you will. Gail?
I know Deepvale's on the agenda, but Tony left. He gave a report of the recent activity. When we signed the CDBG paperwork, in that paperwork it says, when you get a drawdown and the money comes in, you have a certain amount of time to pay that money out. And I think you're on the very brink of that time. So I would like to ask if Courtney can go get the summary sheet that I delivered here last Monday and make copies of it so we can discuss it. It won't take but a minute. We won't talk. We'll wait for you. It's over $300,000, so I'm hoping I can have a couple minutes to go over it. I'm surprised you didn't have it by now. While we're waiting, you've already announced that the construction meeting is happening next Wednesday at 9 a.m. with Dearborn and the engineer and the project manager, and the trustees will be represented, and probably a CDAC member. They are making a case because there's going to be some residual funds left from this project, CDBG funds, we believe, we're waiting for final invoices, that perhaps we could do some work on Central Avenue. But that case is in the middle of being made. So it will probably be discussed at that meeting. So it would be worth at least two of you going.
Well, I have to be there anyway.
Yeah. So if the whole board goes, then we go into TV, and we'd just soon not do that. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate it. Thank you. So the total of the invoices will be $318,538.65. The funds came into the bank a week ago yesterday. The invoices were delivered, all coded, with this summary sheet. $230,000 is owed to Dearborn. It will be paid for by ARPA funds of $63,698.18. That will complete the ARPA funding that I have been told. I cannot see that in any report that comes, that's available to the public. That number doesn't exist anywhere. Deep Vale, but I've been told, so I'm operating on rumors, okay? But that's the number I submitted. Deep Vale will then be hit with $13,118.70. That's coming out of town appropriated funds. There's some funds here for Dirigo. There were invoices for Dirigo and for the inspector, and also for, there's one for like $600 for CD, Community Development Corp. It's important, very important, I would say that if you're going to face these people face to face, when you say you're going to look at the warrant next week and you don't have a check for them before then, or on that day when they're sitting at the same table, there might be some questions asked. Because of the rules that CDBG says will happen and they're operating on, and they have a payroll to meet too. So I'm hoping and expressing my concern about it. Thank you.
Yeah, just for the record, I just reviewed the warrant. It's not on this week's warrant.
Dear God. It wasn't for lack of trying. One more thing. The last drawdown, okay, I was asked by Selectman Lori Harmon to meet with Julie, and we met, and it was not a pleasant meeting. Okay, but the job got done. I submitted this hoping that the coding was clear and that I had done it correctly, and it has been on her desk for a week, I haven't heard anything. Okay, if something's wrong with this coating. And usually, anything I give her, I've done it wrong. Thank you.
I'll check on this in the morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, tax acquired property. Stan has left, and he's the one that's gonna talk about this.
Well, we can
Put it out to,
put it off till next week, because I know one of the brokers wanted to come in and talk to us.
okay.
Yep, and Dan did drop off 2 proposals, which are in your folders.
Yep.
So we'll just put it on the agenda for next week.
Okay, next item, welcome to Limerick sign. Jerry, you got anything on that?
Yeah, John referred me to RSD Graphics. I contacted them. They got back to me with this quote, and I showed it to Wade and Brady. They, for $350, and they'll print us a new sign. So I'll need the okay from the rest of the board to contact them in the morning, get the sign made, and Ricky Richardson and I will see to it that it gets installed.
Okay, you want to make that a formal motion?
Make a motion that we accept the proposal of RSD Graphics for $350 to make us a new sign.
Okay,
Well, it is a minuscule amount. Do we know where the money's coming from?
that's the next question.
Okay?
Before I forget it, is this sign painted both sides?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well,
Public plots, that's where it's always come from.
yeah. Okay, well, we can look in the finances and see if there's, make sure there's plenty of money there.
There isn't, I'll pay for it.
Okay,
The money's not there.
no, I'm pretty sure it is, it's just a case of verifying this, that's all. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to have the sign done. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
I thank Brad for his offer. I'll go down and pay for the sign tomorrow, whether the money's there or not. I'll bring the money to RSD Graphics tomorrow. I'll donate it,
Whatever.
whether the money's there or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to clarify for me, John, when I speak to her in the morning, I can name drop your name.
My name.
Thank you.
I'll have the money tomorrow.
Yep, thank you very much.
You guys have a Friday cup of coffee.
Okay, next on payroll companies. We're still waiting, and I don't believe, did we get the last proposal in from
No, we haven't.
partners?
Yeah, both of them are in your packets, and they did get emailed to us. Partners was yesterday. Yeah, Partners sent theirs yesterday, so it is in your packets.
Okay. I would make a motion, we table this until next week so we can all take a look at this and analyze it and vote on it next week.
Is Paycor partners? Okay.
They go through a third party, so they work with Partners.
Do you hear a second?
Yes.
All those in favor? Okay. Next week. Okay, new business. Rec room in the municipal building, Courtney, that's yours, I know.
So there is a lot of stuff downstairs in what used to be, I think it's the EMA, old EMA office downstairs. It's where the electrical room is for the elevator. And there's a lot of stuff down there that needs to be gone through. So I was asked to bring it up to you guys to see if you want me to go down there and do that, or if we want Isaac to go through it. But it does need to be gone through because some of the stuff down there is not usable and it's just sitting there.
There's also a lot of records down there. There's a variety of them, I know.
Yeah. So just whatever the board decides, I'm willing to go, of course, after everything that I have to do is done.
Right.
But I am willing to go down there with Isaac and go through that stuff and see what is salvageable and what is not.
I can go down there with Isaac this week.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, concerns on invoices. What is this?
That was brought up last week by Cheryl, I believe. I think it was.
It was at the end of the meeting. You had two questions on $2,500 charges for the fire department, or $25,000 charges.
Yeah.
I answered them, though.
Okay.
I also have a question on invoice from the fire department I'm going to follow up with the chief on. Okay, business park sign. John brought that up last week. I went down and looked at that. You still got spaces for room on that original sign for businesses,
Yeah, there's one for every lot.
right?
I guess until the other lots get developed, it may not be an issue, but
I,
if somebody that owns a lot wants a spot. If you guys will approve doubling the sign.
let's wait until we need
If you
it.
approve doubling it for no cost, I'll double the sign. Just get it done. We got tenants down there that want space. Other people that own lots should be denied their space.
You're talking one additional sign.
We're gonna take the sign that's there now and double it right to left or left to right. So it'll be the same number of slots available.
I don't have any problem with it. Any of you?
Is there still a business park committee, or has that been dissolved?
That's long gone, I think.
I knew they were very separate.
I don't even know if the Limerick Development Corporation's still in business, or they're dissolved, or what the case might be.
They were very possessive at the time, so I didn't know whether they were gone.
Yeah. They were calling the shots there for quite a while.
I make a motion to allow John Medici to double the sign at the business park.
I'll second that.
All those first and second, and all those in favor? To vote?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
This is better. Boy Scout Island attendant application, do we have any?
Yep, we have one. So if you guys want to try to figure out when you can do an interview, I can get in contact, or one of the board members can get in contact with him. You do have his application in your packets,
Yes, we do.
just so each one of you can take a look at it.
We had an email of somebody like 2 weeks ago. Did he ever send in an application? The guy that worked, but he had no problem opening it in the morning and evenings.
The
Or closing it
application
in
that
the-
is in your folders is the only application that I have received. Everything else was just information gathering, I believe.
Is this one Villas?
Huh?
Is that the one I'm looking at?
Yeah, right there.
He wants to be the do it for Scout Island? He lives in Porter?
Well, you guys will have to look at the application and then decide if you want to do anything with it.
Let's,
But shouldn't be saying information.
We could, I suppose at this point, we could set up a time to interview him anyway.
Yeah, it says he's retired, so maybe he won't mind driving down.
Every day?
Every day.
Every night? Yeah, that ought to be a lot of fun.
He's really bored in retirement.
Yeah. There's another one up that way that applied for something else and... Okay, what do we got for time for doing an interview with this guy? I know you're in hay season. Jerry, you available most every day? I am.
No, Thursday, Friday this week I'm not here, and Thursday, Friday next
Well,
week.
this week we can forget with the holidays and everything.
Yeah, well, Thursday, Friday next week I'm not here either.
Okay. Can we... set something up for... How's next Monday afternoon? Is that set it up for 4 o'clock next Monday afternoon?
On the 6th?
Yep.
Yep. Looks.
And am I contacting him or is one of the board members contacting him?
You contact him.
What time is your appointment, Jerry?
11.
Okay, next, a scheduled workshop for Mobility Management Hub.
Yeah, so that was Kayla Lewis who was here that night and had to reschedule. So she is looking to see if we can get a workshop set up for her to come in. She would like to try to meet at like 5 or 5:30. That's what she had sent us an email. So, trying to figure something out.
Do we want to do that prior to a selectmen's meeting? How is this affecting yours as far as your work?
These meetings?
Yeah,
Oh, I mean, I can,
we do it for 4 o'clock.
yeah.
Well, which time did you say?
She said either 5 or 5:30 because of how far she has to drive home and here.
Where is she from?
Biddeford? I feel like I remember Biddeford.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So she's got a pretty long haul back home. So.
Did she say how long this is going to take?
Nope, she.
Say we set it up for 5:30. Give her an hour. That ought to be enough, I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
On what date?
On next Tuesday. the 7th.
Next Tuesday you can't because you have the grievance hearing at 6 o'clock.
Oops, okay.
The 14th, 21st, and 28th are free before the select board meeting.
14th.
Yeah, that's going to be a long one that night. Yeah, I suppose we could do it on 14th.
5:30.
Sure. Okay, next we have appointments and resignations. We have an appointment for Courtney for the payroll clerk we have to sign. And first, we have to take a motion on it.
I make a motion that we appoint Courtney Alexander to be the payroll clerk, to do a payroll.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody?
And can you reach out to MMA to see if you have to be bonded? Or ask Julie if you have to
No.
be bonded? We don't have to?
Doesn't have to.
Okay, it's already been done, never mind.
She's actually already bonded through the
General assistance,
general
right? Okay.
assistance. Okay, correspondence. I don't see anything. Next, we have a motion to adjourn. Oh, sure.
Thank you, Courtney, for doing that. Is it possible that instead of hiring a company, that we could just have her do it, or is there more to this than what she's doing now? And I'm not minimizing or I'm just asking.
We'll make that decision after we go over after the applications, because we've already interviewed both of them.
Follow you. Okay. Well, thank you for doing it. I just want, on a good note, is the person that's doing the mowings of all the properties is doing a fantastic job. It really looks good. And I've had several people come up to me and ask, who's doing that? And I tell them, they say, it's right on it. It looks fantastic. So a good positive for Limerick. And the other part of the cemetery that I mowed 2 or 3 years ago is do you have someone to do that?
For the Baptist cemetery?
Yeah.
That one I have to talk to Denise.
Okay.
She's been taking care of that, so.
It was getting a little tall and straggly,
Yeah, I know.
so I knew you was in that committee, so I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
The little town strip with the lilac bushes, looking great.
That is looking good.
That lady, whoever she is doing it, she needs an accommodation. She is fabulous.
I read,
Okay, with it,
I read who it was, but I don't remember it right now. Okay.
Can you just announce that the transfer station is closed Saturday for
Okay.
Oh, please scan you.
The transfer station is closed this Saturday for the 4th, but it'll be open on Sunday. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Good night.